Hey guys, what's up? It's Coach Carroll. Welcome to the Sales Factory podcast. I got another episode for you today. And in the Sales Factory, I got my man Jake Wardrip, not to be confused with Wardrip, the race car drivers. And he's with Homepage Realty. He's a real estate agent. This guy got started back with a developer in 2018. He got his license in 2020 and then really took the side hustle to the main hustle in 2022. I got Jake on the podcast today so that we're going to be talking about what he's using for his sales and marketing strategies as an agent. You guys know that I've been having a lot of agents come on board recently, and I want to share these messages with you guys. I think there's a lot that you can take away from it. And so, Jake, thanks so much for coming in the Sales Factory today, man.
No, I appreciate you having me on. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, dude, it's gonna be fun, man. We'll have a good time. So let's take it back from the beginning, man. 2018, working with a developer. Was this a commercial developer or a residential developer? And what was your kind of your jobs and your duties with that guy or girl?
Yeah, so it was 2018. I just left my job actually in the fitness world. I ran health clubs for 8 years and kind of reached that glass ceiling.
Yep.
Didn't really know what I wanted to do. But I'd always had that itch for real estate. Just didn't have the courage right out of college to get into it. So thought about getting into property management, just some sort of kind of real estate adjacent, and got in with property management. Worked under Charles Osborne out in Norton Commons, the developer out there, managing the homeowners association, doing oddball stuff, but learned a lot of stuff under him about just the whole, and his team, about the whole aspect of mixed use community. So there was a residential aspect, which was primarily what I focused on, but through osmosis, you pick up a bunch of stuff through development stuff, commercial stuff, mixed use, public events, just learning how a neighborhood is run. But yeah, and then 22 came around and the side hustle, like you said, became the main hustle. And we decided to take the plunge. That job was really taxing. I love the community, love the people I work with, but it was a very demanding job. And I had something else that was blossoming into something really important that could really give me a lot of not only financial freedom, but personal freedom as well.
Yeah.
Not tied to a desk from 9 to 5 like I was. So
For sure.
we decided to pull the trigger in 22 and see how it took off. And, I've got a master's degree. I kind of told my wife at the time, like, if I got to go get a regular 9 to 5, might not be happy with it, but I can at least go do it.
Yeah, you can always go
Should
back.
be able to get one by next week. So, let's just see how this real estate thing takes off. And here we are almost, actually, I put it in my notice 2 days from today.
Oh, wow.
2 years ago. So August 15th, 2022 was when I put in my notice.
That's cool, man. That's cool. And so what made you get the license in 2020 then? So like 2018, you're working with the developer, building out there in Norton Commons. And for those of you guys that are listening that are outside of the Louisville market, Norton Commons is such a cool spot. I think it's like the only one of its kind in Louisville. Probably very few neighborhoods like that in the U.S., man. It's almost like, it's funny, Jake, when I drive through Norton Commons, I get the like 1950s, vibe, right? Where it's like houses are kind of close together. They look like old houses, but they're brand new houses, and everything's very walkable. But what made you say, hey, man, 2018, working with this developer, like what made you want to get your license?
Really, it just I became obsessed. I've got kind of an obsessive personality. When I learn something new, I just become fully entrenched in it. And so get into it. I really didn't know much more than I bought and sold my own house. Like, like everybody has in their early mid 20s, they buy a house and they think they know what they're doing if they could do it on their own. And really, I just thought it was a great move to kind of be a side hustle, sell a couple houses here and there to friends and family, pay off some of the student loan debt, go on an extra vacation here and there, just a little extra money.
Yeah.
And it kind of took off. I was like, hey, I got a pretty decent at this. I could maybe make this into a real full-time thing.
That's cool, man. What was maybe some of the hurdles or barriers that you experienced, like when you very first got your license? Like maybe somebody's listening to this podcast right now. Maybe they're like a blue-collar guy, right? He's like started their first business, and they're like, man, I've been thinking about maybe making that jump into real estate. Like what were some of the hurdles that you experienced early on?
I'd say the biggest one right off the bat is just the continuing education. I don't know any job in the world, and if you ask any realtor, they'll all say this, there is very little in the schooling that actually helps you be a good agent in the field. the school will help you get licensed. The school will tell you the general basics of the job, of the career, but maybe 10% of it is actually applicable to day in and day out. So, finding yourself in a good brokerage that is going to give you, support, going to give you tools to kind of sharpen your craft. I started at one brokerage and it was good. It was great. I enjoyed it. The broker was good, but I just wanted a little bit more on the training aspect. And Homepage has an incredible training program that they put you through. All the way from if you've never sold a house before to even if you're a 30-year vet and you've sold $100 million in volume, there's still stuff that you can learn, and just being able to kind of rub shoulders with some of the most productive agents in this industry is, I never settled for fine. I'm always looking for something better. Except for when it comes to my brokerage, I don't know if I'm going to find much better than what I got right now.
That's cool, man. And so, like you said, the hurdles like continuing education. Yeah, because I mean, like when you're getting your license, they teach you like they'll tell you the legalities of why the ceiling fan has to go with the house, but the lamp doesn't. Yeah. But they don't tell you anything about like trying to negotiate for concessions because the seller didn't disclose that they had plumbing repairs done the past 2 years, right? Like now I got to negotiate that. What are some of the classes like that you've been able to take at Homepage that have been helpful?
Just most recently, the stuff with the NAR that's going on with the Department of Justice and their stuff. I don't want to get too into the weeds on that just because it's still, I mean, today's literally the first day of actually in practice in Louisville. So
yeah, I've been seeing a bunch of memes about that. Of like, I saw somebody was like, how I'm going to advertise my commission, and they cut like 3% into the backyard and took an aerial photo of the house and stuff. So there's been a lot of funny,
all kinds of funny stuff. Yeah, unfortunately. Fun fact, don't do that. You can't reference. It's funny to look at, but don't do that. No, I put something on my Instagram story today, and it was a screenshot of the field on the MLS where it says cooperating commission, and I put the Sarah McLachlan song, I Will Remember You song. I put that on my story today because today's a bittersweet day for many people. It's gone. So that's but no, just being on the forefront of that. I mean, we've had title companies come in. We've talked to, they've talked to 100 different brokers from different regions, just trying to implement changes that are not only going to protect us, but also keep us productive.
Yeah. Because and for anybody that's listening right now, I know you don't want to get in the weeds with it, but can you give like a 30,000-foot view if somebody's like, what the hell is this guy talking about Department of Justice? Like, can you give the listeners like a 30,000-foot view of like kind of what's happened with the buyer's commission on that?
Yeah, the elevator pitch of what happened was there was a couple in Missouri that did not feel it was right that they should pay their buyer's agent, the buyer's agent for the property. So they contacted an attorney. The thing blew up into a class action lawsuit, went all the way up to the Department of Justice, and they determined that the biggest changes are that we are no longer allowed to market cooperating commission on the MLS. And now, effective today, we also have to have a buyer broker agreement signed before even looking at the house. So if I just meet you on the side of the street and you want to go look at this house, we've got to fill out paperwork now before we even walk through the front door. And it is, I think, a $2,000 fine for anyone that breaks that. So they're taking it serious, and rightfully so. I mean, if you're going to implement a rule, you can't have they're not going to have a grace period. They're rolling. But yeah, I think there's just so much unknown that it's unfair to make predictions at this time because we don't know how it's really going to play out.
Yeah, if from the outside looking in, we work with real estate agents, and I've talked to a ton of them. I think nothing's going to change. It's basically going to there's just a couple extra pieces of paperwork that get filed in between for the legalities piece, and maybe a box on the MLS goes away. But it's like the buyers are still going to get their commission. Like it's going to, and the thing of like, well, we can't say this is a standard. It's like, well, if you read the old contracts, everything's negotiable. Like if you want to list your house, you can negotiate. If Jake wants to be my buyer's agent, I can negotiate with him. If he wants to be my seller's agent, I can negotiate it with him on the commission. Like there's a reason why that was a box on the contract and not a number that's already written in, right? To me, that's what I can't believe didn't get this thing completely thrown out was that there is a box on the contract for this. So it's not, because you heard a lot about like price fixing and things like this. And I'm like, a lot of that stuff kind of got thrown to the wayside. But so the big things were, you can't advertise the co-op commission on MLS, and then now you guys basically have to have some paper signed with a buyer before you guys can interact with them at all, right?
Yeah, and I think if you don't properly convey that to a random buyer that you meet through a lead source, whatever it was, then they're going to go to somebody else, and that next agent, if they're better at telling that story, then they're going to get the buyer.
Yeah.
So I think that, being able to communicate has always been an important skill in this industry, but now
sure.
it's even more. We're going to have to talk to the other agents a lot more, which is, if I'm going to be candid, in my short time as a realtor, that's my biggest gripe of this industry, is just how many times I get left on red, how many times that, just communicating with someone seems so challenging.
Mm-hmm.
How was the showing? Like, send me a middle finger emoji. I don't care. Like, give me something. Like, tell me you don't like it. Tell me it was terrible. It smelled like dog piss. I don't care. Just give me something so I can take it back to my sellers. And let them know. It's just, communication is so important. I think this is going to force us to communicate better and hopefully create some new habits for some people.
Yeah, for sure, man. And listen, I mean, the good ones will prevail. When we were buying our house a couple of years ago, our agent that we used, that was a friend of my wife's, she had her like team lead or whatever it is, like in their brokerage, right? She was on a team, and so like that lady came in as well. And I remember standing in the kitchen, and it's the seller's agent, it's me and my wife, our agent, which is my wife's friend, and then the other lady that is like the team lead, right? Like the she's not the broker of the brokerage, but she's like the head of the team. And so like we're talking back and forth, right? And I'm negotiating with this guy. Like I'm been in business for 18 years, so I'm like, I'll do my own negotiations, right? I'm like sitting here, I'm negotiating face to face with them, and the lady, she keeps like popping in, almost like defensive of the sellers. Like, one of the things was, there's a lot of property out here, and I wanted to make sure that we had proper covenants that said, hey, nobody's going to start building a house right behind us as soon as we buy this place, right? We're talking about that. She pops off with like, well, even if people do build, that's going to make your property value go up, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I just kind of gave her this look a couple of times. And when we were all done, and I told the seller's agent, I was like, hey, I appreciate it. We're just going to talk a little bit. As soon as he walked out, I looked at the lady. I was like, hey, you work for me, right? Like you're not working for the sellers here. Like I'm trying to get the best deal possible. And that's why I tell people all the time, like when you select an agent, make sure it's somebody that's like got good skills and is going to go to bat for you. Because I think a lot of agents that are out there, they just try to get the transaction done, right? They're like, and I think that's where
we are not all the same.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where some of the lawsuit came from, is like, why am I paying a 3% commission if all this person did was send an offer and like dot a couple I's and cross a couple T's, and like that was the only work that got done, right? But at the same time, if that had to show you 15 different houses, that's why you're paying the commission. It was a lot of time involved in that side too. So
I tell people too, it's interesting in the sense that, do you want me to let the problems come and then I solve them, or do you want me to stop them on the front end before they become a problem? It's kind of the realtors are, I saw an analogy the other day. It's not my analogy, but realtors are kind of like police officers. You don't want them until you need them.
I like that.
I don't agree with it. I think I'm very pro police, but for some people it is, you don't want to mess with them until you actually need them.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, I can make the problems appear instead of knocking them down before they become a problem.
Yeah.
If I'm doing my job right, you don't think I did a good enough job.
Right. And I'll tell you too, Jake, I mean, some of my audience has heard this story before, but I bought a fitness center when I was living in Carrollton. I bought it. It had 100 members. We grew it to 300 members in 18 months. It was wildly successful. And I had a real estate agent that came in and was like, hey, do you want to sell the building? And I'm like, I could talk about this stuff now. There's years people are like, what happened, man? I'm like, I can't talk about it. We were in litigation because we ended up suing the guy afterwards. But he was not blatantly clear that let me back up. He wanted to see if I wanted to sell the building. I'm like, hey man, I'm an entrepreneur. Everything I got is for sale, right? Let's talk
Yep.
about it. So I was going to piece out the business, sell the business unit and all the equipment for the gym and the membership to another gym in town, and then sell the building. And so I told him, when I went and met with him, he's like, I represent the buyers, and I said that's fine, man. I it's an easy deal. I don't need any representation. I thought, right? I didn't run the
Mhm.
contract by my attorney. This was like the first, like Coach Carroll's first lesson, and you can never have too many attorneys on staff to look at
Yeah.
paperwork. Basically, we did a handshake deal that the thing was going to stay under wraps, right? They had a piece of property they needed to get out of. I needed to be able to sell off my business. Like we needed to keep this as a hush hush, deal. And once they got their tight end or loose ends tightened up, then they made an announcement, and then everybody came to me and was like, hey, you're closing the gym? And I was like, oh shit, where did you hear that at? And they're like, oh, so and so the real estate agent, he's telling everybody that his people are coming
Oh,
in here to buy the
jeez.
property. And I'm like, oh my god. And so like one thing leads to another. I end up losing the whole thing, dude. I had to sell the gym and the equipment for like pennies on the dollars. I was in a land sale agreement with the piece of real estate. I basically had to like give it back to the owners, and then they sold it to this guy. We try to go back and sue him, and that was like my first time going through that whole process, which was very, very
Mhm.
interesting. But when I came out of the backside of it, I said, okay, this is why as a seller and as a buyer, like you need, you know what I mean? You need to have somebody that's fighting for you. And I know in real estate deals, sometimes you guys will do both sides of the deals. Honestly, Jake, in true transparency, that's what I thought was going to come out of this whole lawsuit thing with the splits and the
Yeah.
commissions. I thought that's what they were going to say is like, you guys can't do deals like that anymore. It's almost like a conflict of interest, but it doesn't
Mhm.
seem like that was any part of the legalities, right?
No, I think it's going to be end up probably what you're referring to is called dual agency. I
That's
think
it.
we're going to see a lot more. We're going to see a lot more of that because if the buyers, in theory, are going to have to bring commissions to the table for the buyer's agent, first-time home buyers don't have that kind of money.
Right.
They don't. They don't have X amount percentage of the house, barely enough to put down the down payment, let alone also pay for representation. So they're going to go directly to the listing agent and just hope that that person has some of their best interests in mind and they're not just married to the deal.
Yeah, that's crazy. But I mean, how often do we see this, right? They change a law and then it's like, oh shit, we actually made it worse, not better, right? Like, there
Yeah.
could be, that we could be at the very beginning of this, but we'll park that one for now. I don't want to go too deep into it because I probably just had some real estate agents that are like, fuck this guy, I'm never listening to another one of his podcasts. But it's okay, it's all right. We're okay. So we're back to 2022. And you're like, hey honey, I've got my master's degree. If I need to go get a job, I can get one. But I'm gonna make this leap. I'm gonna go after this thing. I'm gonna try to make this a full-time hustle. What was going through your mind? Talk to us about like what you were feeling in that moment.
I've never been more scared and never been more excited in my life. So I have worked, I've had a job since the moment I graduated from high school, 9 to 5 job, or not high school, college. The moment I graduated from college, had a 9 to 5 job. Always had to go in Monday through Friday, the occasional weekends from time to time, but always had a boss, always had somebody, to kind of protect me from myself or protect me from uh, the world.
Mm.
And going in as a full blown entrepreneur at that time, one of the scariest things I've ever done. My last day at Norton Commons was September 15th, and September 16th, I wake up and I'm a free man, so to speak. I can do what I want. I have to create all these new habits. Thankfully, I had motivation and drive and dedication and work ethic from sports and school and life. Great upbringing from my parents, but now I could just walk around in my sweatpants all day if I wanted to and not do anything. So I had to relearn some stuff. Never thought I would rather do laundry than work. So you're constantly trying to like fight those. I'm gonna go get a snack, or I'm gonna go do this. Or I'm gonna watch TV for 30 minutes, or I'm gonna do this. And next thing you know, it's 11:30. You've barely gotten any work done. So
Mm.
we finished our basement, put a really nice office in there. I only go into that office for work. So that's kind of like my brain. It's like me tricking my brain into saying like it's work time.
Yep.
We only do work in here. So when we're in here, it's just like an office in a building. So,
Hmm.
and then every now and again, you got to mix it up. I go into the homepage office from time to time, especially every Wednesday. They've got their sales meeting. So I go in every Wednesday for those, and then the occasional training from time to time. I'll tune in for those as well.
What do you guys cover in those sales meetings? It's just like, hey, who sold houses last week? Who like talk to us about that? Like those
No,
something when you
it's kind of like it's kind of like a rah rah kind of thing. It's not like Wolf of Wall Street rah rah, but
you guys aren't throwing
um,
midgets?
no, we're not doing any of that stuff. We're not pounding our chest or anything like that.
We love you,
So,
midget
uh,
listeners. By the way, that
yeah.
was it.
No, we'll go over like anything that changed, especially recently, all this stuff that's going on. But
Yeah, man.
we'll have people come in, title companies come in, give refresher tips and tricks on things. We have a phenomenal media department, which is honest. I joke that I say I came to homepage for the Chick-fil-A on Wednesdays, but I stayed for the media department.
That's
And
funny.
so
Are they
media
making
department.
content for you guys and stuff? Like, what's that look like?
Oh yeah, the way the media department was described to me when I first got to homepage is it's your job to come up with stuff and take it to them, and it's their job to tell you yes. If they can't tell you yes, there better be a really good reason for it. So everything from as simple as just listed flyers to I've got them making a drone flyover video of an entire neighborhood for me right now.
Wow.
I do a podcast as well, and they do the production of that and send me back the full raw data of it, and then I'll chop it up into little clips and put shorts and put them on YouTube and TikTok and things
Wow.
like that. But yeah, it is. They can do everything from hey, my name is so and so. Welcome to my listing. We'll do a little walkthrough. Um, it's a full blown media production. They can
That's
do
cool,
anything and
man.
everything.
That's cool to see that the brokerage invested in that. It sounds like they see the value in being able to give you guys content. I call it propaganda because that's really what it is, right? It's like being able to create that
Yeah.
propaganda to be able to put you guys out there. What do you think? What do you think made them like push so hard on it? Because not all brokerages are like that. Not all brokerages have like big content media departments that help the
Yeah.
agents like that.
So they started this. I mean, literally, the name of the company is Homepage. When it was first started, the origins, from what I was told, is because they wanted to be the home page for real estate. So homepage like a website.
That's
So
cool.
you would go to the homepage realty for all of your housing needs.
Huh.
Um, George Barrett partnered with Carrie King on that. Carrie King is the queen of real estate in Louisville and marketing. And she knew, the old Wayne Gretzky quote, "Go where the puck's going, not where the puck is."
Yeah,
She
man.
knew where it was. Social media was going to be massive. Content was going to be massive. Housing is a very visual aspect of people's lives. So she knew, and they invested the time, money, and resources into it so that everybody else was playing catch up. They've always prided themselves on being on the forefront of when it comes to marketing, which was really what drew me there.
That's cool, man. That's really cool. I want to circle back to the habits piece too, because you were talking about that. You wake up now, you're self-employed, and you've got to start creating these habits or disciplines, I guess you could call them, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me about that, and like, were there any books that you read to help you with that? Was there any like what got you like, oh shit, okay, I can't be in my boxers eating Cheerios at 11 a.m. doing laundry, right? Like I need to go out here and drive
Yeah.
drive for dollars, or hit some leads up and make some cold calls, or like what got you like, okay, cool, we got to get going now.
I'll be honest, I'm not a big reader.
Okay.
I don't consume that form of content. I do enjoy consuming real estate content, but it's normally in video form. So
Okay.
um, I see a lot of stuff on you. I watch a lot of YouTube videos, especially the last couple of years. TikTok has been huge, and I mean, better than anybody how an algorithm works.
Oh yeah.
Once you start, liking and commenting on stuff, it shows you a lot more of that like-kinded stuff. So my TikTok feed is nothing but guys that talk about housing. So I consume a lot from them, and you get a lot of different. I think it's great because you get a lot of different perspectives from around the country.
Yeah.
You get all kinds of ideas, and some of the stuff doesn't apply to you, but you can at least take it and twist it. Um, but no, it was, thankfully, I played sports in college, and that created that this is what you do. You go to here, you do this. You go here, you do that, and it was more of me just kind of like hopping back on a bike again. It was, wake up, get the kids off to school, wife goes to work, take a shower, go to the gym, come back, take a shower, whatever that timeline plays out, and go down to the basement and just when you first start, you've only got a couple clients. So
Yeah.
it's kind of just, you're trying to do whatever you can to drum up business. I use for the longest time, and I still do it a lot to this day, is I use Facebook Messenger as kind of like a CRM. Going through, I don't never delete the
Interesting.
conversations. So I'll freely admit I don't use my CRM. We use a CRM called Sierra. I don't use it as much as I should. I'm not the best at it. A lot of times I forget to even like just do anything with it. And it's kind of just the battle of attrition. You fight the battles that are in front of you, and sometimes you just don't have the bandwidth for everything. So I
Yeah.
use Facebook Messenger a lot as a CRM, and I learned a trick from another agent, not an old agent, but he's been around for a while and very successful, and someone that I think really knows what he's talking about. Um, Took something that he said and kind of applied it to Facebook. Is I take the first name of the people in my friends group, and A's and B's. I'll reach out to every single one of them in this week. Next week
Mm.
I'll go C and D, reach out to all those people. So I've got a little calendar spreadsheet on my desktop that I pull up, and I'm like, okay, still do it to this day. All right, it's August 12th, August 13th. Um, which week are we doing this week? So we'll go through and we'll reach out to all the people on Facebook that have that, and you can kind of see like if you've sent them 6 or 7 messages and they haven't replied yet, maybe we skip them this round. But you can also kind of go back and see like, oh, they're engaging, they have conversation. Let's write them something. And it's not copy and paste.
Mhm.
It's let's write them something that actually could be engaging. Hey, just want to circle back from our previous conversation. Any thoughts? Any movement on your end? I know you'd said you thought about next winter. Um, it's the fall now, so have anything changed? Anything major changes in your life? New job? New motivation? Any new areas that you want to consider when you're looking? So just things that are kind of having conversation pieces, just stay top of mind.
Yeah, I like that. I'm a big fan of top of mind awareness, man. That Harvard Medical Journal, 7 to 12 touches to make a buying decision. It doesn't
Yep.
happen on the first call, first text, first Facebook message. I do like that, Jake, that using the Facebook Messenger to go out and then hey, it's on week 1 we're doing names A through C and boom, 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 right? Another thing I could double down on to the listeners that are tuned into us right now, you guys could like take a quick second, go view their profile, look at their timeline, what's like the last couple things they posted, and then tie that
Mm-hmm.
back into the comments so that it's more relevant in the time, right? One of
Yeah.
the challenges is like, and we've struggled with this internally in our business, right? Is like making sure that when being a sales first organization, which I think is totally fine because nothing happens in business until a sale is made, right? Mark Smith,
Mm-hmm.
my State Farm agent, who's been my business mentor since high school, he taught me that. That was one of the first lessons he taught me. He said, "Hey, man, sales drives an organization because nothing happens in business until a sale is made. But with that, there is a layer of customer service that has to be included." And that could be not necessarily like sending 7 messages in a row that's like, hey, you ready to sell your house? 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 You ready to buy a house? You ready to buy a house? You ready to buy a house? It's, hey, man, saw that your kids had a Little League game last week, man. My kids play Little League too. Like, where were you guys playing at? Right? That fosters that relationship. That fosters
Mm-hmm.
that conversation that's not sales related. And so that's good stuff, Jake. I appreciate. We'll drop a little coin on that one. Take that one to the bank. Cool, man. And so Facebook Messenger is a CRM. That's cool. We talked about habits. This has been a good podcast, dude. A lot of good stuff to unpack here. Talk to me a little bit about like when you guys are like at the homepage brokerage. You've got this media department. You're doing your podcast. You're putting stuff out there. Talk to me about how you see the value of your brand, right? Like a lot of times when we work with clients, and I always love to get agents' feedback. I just had a podcast we did right before yours that I was asking the guy, he's a current client, like, how do you play the long game building a brand? How do you see your brand and how does that play into the sales cycle? So break that down for us. Like, and again, there's no right or wrong answer, just your opinion on this. Like, how do you see social media playing into how you build your brand?
Yeah. So for me, I look at brand as visual as well as thoughts as well. So the visual aspect, I have no hair, just like you, and so I wear a hat all the time. I don't like to show off the cue ball. So
Hey,
I'm always rocking a hat.
I don't have my overhead lights on for a reason. Andy had them on. I was like, bro, we got to kill these overhead lights. It's shining, man. I don't like that. If you guys are listening to this right now, Jake's got a hat on. So if you guys go watch it on YouTube, you can see what he's talking about.
It is very weird. I had one of the employees at the brokerage. I walked in. She goes, "Did you do something different with your hair?" I was like, "No, I just don't. I forgot my hat. I don't have a hat on right now. It feels weird." So I always have a hat on and a t-shirt. Like it is. So if you see me ever, I can dress up when I need to. But Deion Sanders said a long time ago, "You look good, you feel good, you feel good, you play good."
That's right, man.
So I don't like to be. There you go. There's another one. I don't want to be. I don't want to be all cooped up in a dress shirt. And, if that's for you, you do you. Like no judgment from me, but I want to be comfortable.
I'm feeling some shade coming my way right now, Jake. I'm feeling some shade.
No, it's all love. It's all love. You look good. You look good. If you feel, hey, fall back on Prime. If you look good, you feel good.
That's right.
So that's not my style. But
man.
If you watch the podcast, I always have a hat and a t-shirt on. That's kind of what I do. But the podcast allows me to put out those clips, which, like we said, stays top of mind. So it gets a little boring when all you're putting out is just listed, under contract, just sold, rinse and repeat.
Yep.
So and you can only tell people to change their furnace filter so many times. You can only put out so many property maintenance tips that aren't just, replace your furnace filter, clean out your gutters, seal your concrete. Like you can only say these things so many times and people are like, all right, we get it.
Yeah.
So the podcast allowed me to create the clips, so that I'm not, I've got 500 clips at my disposal right now that I can put out, and it just continues to help me stay top of mind. And then the dirty little secret of it is after the podcast is over, I do a lot with homepage agents, but I also do a lot with non-realtors. The dirty little secret is it comes with an ask when it's all done. Hey, anyone or if you yourself is interested in buying, selling, investing, whatever, give me a shout when the time comes.
Yeah.
So there's a double-sided sword to it.
I like that. And then so you're putting those clips out on social, right?
Instagram, Reels, YouTube Shorts. Every time I think I understand how the YouTube algorithm works, I'm wrong. So we're still trying to fit. Right now, it does not like AI generated content from me for some reason. Anytime I add any sort of AI aspect to it, the views just tank.
What do you mean by AI? Like clips, like B-roll footage, or
yeah. So I use a website called Opus Clips, which is really popular in the content world.
Yeah.
And they have AI B-roll now that you can add to you can highlight some words and put AI B-roll. Anytime I do that, 30 views, 40 views on a short.
Wow.
Anytime I don't, it's 6, 7, 8, 900, 1,200 views. So for some reason, it just doesn't like it. I did another test sample today. I put one out with AI, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Just to see if it's still not liking that.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what you find on that. We do a ton of testing, for anybody that's listening, like the Coach Carroll brand is basically the guinea pig of Carroll Media. So it's like, I'm the one that gets all the testing done on my brand to see what works, what doesn't work. One of the things we've recently found out was like a 1 second reel, because it was getting a through play all the way through, was actually over indexing. So it was like doing really, really well. So we did one of Snoop Dogg. We posted it up. It got, a few hundred plays on it, but it was missing some comedy or some humor or some text mainly over it that would make people have to watch it 2 or 3 times. Sent it back to the team. They revamped it, put like a funny, made up, my mom texted me about Snoop Dogg and said she really likes seeing him at the Olympics. And I had a reminder that I got grounded for listening to his music when I was younger, right? So it was like completely made up message. So we put it on there, but it went from 300 or 400 views to almost 800 views just by that one. It's same clip. It's just putting a little something over the top of it. And that's what I tell agents all the time is if you have the time, if you have the capacity, if you have the wherewithal, really is what it's like to post something and then have to delete it and make a small edit and repost it again. That's where you find the magic. That's where you find what works and what doesn't work. I put a clip up the other day of Christina Shaw. She was a guest on the podcast, and I made a green screen clip. And dude, I probably redid it 6 or 7 times, and sometimes that's just what it takes. I mean, I've made thousands of videos, and I still have to redo videos multiple times to go, okay, no, shit, I forgot to say this, or I forgot to put this call to action there. Got to redo it again, right? And so sometimes it takes that to really get through and get a piece that works. But that's interesting that you found that if you're putting those AI B rolls in there, it just kills it. I'm almost wondering
Yeah,
if
and I'm
we're
sure it'll change next month. Like I said, once I figure it out, it changes. So next
yeah.
month, it'll start. It'll take off. A rocket strap to it and get 15,000 views.
Yeah, exactly. We've tell you, YouTube Shorts is crazy. There for a while, what was that, Andy? 2 years ago, probably, that we got some of those that just popped and went crazy on YouTube Shorts. I think it was a year and a half, 2 years ago. Andy's here in the studio with me. He's our creative director. And, we had some, man, that popped 20,000, 30,000 views. Matt, who was the guy from Friends? Um, uh, not sure. Matthew Perry, Matt Perry, yeah, because like the
Yeah,
memes that was going around was like, "This is not a schwimmer and a schwimmer." That one was pretty dark of
yeah,
a meme, but
a little
he
bit.
we had yeah
Okay.
we had like a highlight reel of Matthew Perry that we put out like the week after, right? And like I didn't even watch Friends, but like that was what was trending, and dude, the thing got like over 100,000 views on it. And I know a lot of times people go, well, what's the point? Like, you didn't sell any social media from that. And it's like, dude, it's brand awareness. I literally hacked the algorithm to get in front of 100,000 sets of eyeballs. That cost me next to nothing, right? A little bit of creative juices to make the piece, but other than that, it's pretty powerful when you use these platforms. Talk to me. So you said building your brand, image consistency is what I kind of took away with the hat and the t-shirt. You got your
Mhm.
podcast that's creating that content to go out there. To kind of repurpose and using those shorts across multiple platforms, which is fantastic, dude. I love when people are doing that. Very, very few people understand that we call it a hub and spoke model, right? Do the podcast and then
Mhm.
it creates content for all the other ones. What else are you doing to kind of build your brand on socials?
So one of the biggest things I do is NIL, name, image, likeness. That is, if you're familiar with what that is, student athletes, college athletes are now able to profit and monetize off of their name, image, and likeness.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the budget for University of Louisville. I don't have the budget for University of Kentucky, University of Cincinnati. Pick your big school that's close by to where I live. But I do have the budget for small colleges. I
Mm.
played baseball at University of Spalding University here in Louisville, Kentucky. It was NAIA when I was there. Finished at Division III. So I partner with student athletes there. There's no way to know this for sure, but Peyton Hood is probably, in my mind, he is, but probably is the first Division III athlete to have gotten an NIL deal. And that partnership alone has blossomed into what I would call a friendship. He called me yesterday. He's trying to buy some land down at the lake, and this was back in, oh shoot, I don't know, 22 that I started it, and we still have that relationship together. I now have 4 student athletes at the university that I partner with,
Wow.
and it's essentially an extension of me. I'm building a new crop of buyers, student athletes and alumni from Spalding that they're not ready to buy a house today, but they are probably in 3 years. So
Wow.
when the time comes, who are they going to think of? They're going to think of me, hopefully.
Yeah.
I do a lot of marketing at Spalding as well. It's a safe bet that when you graduate from college, you're going to end up buying a house,
Mm.
in due time. So, it is a calculated move. It's a play for the future. But being partnered with them has really been fruitful. Probably close to 2 million in volume I've closed that I can directly tie back without even getting creative. I can directly tie back to the NIL partnership that I have.
Do you mind double clicking with me on that real quick, Jake? And we're about out of time, so I'm gonna get
Yeah.
get the listeners out of here in a minute. But talk to me about that name, image, likeness, because that whole piece when this happened, right? And so if you guys aren't familiar with this, is the new NCAA ruling that says, hey, now college athletes can make money off their names, right? That's why college athletes never had the name on the back of their jersey, right? It's like they weren't able to like sell and profit from their jerseys and stuff. So the way you're running this, are these athletes, are they making content for you? Are they just hopping on your podcast? Like how are you utilizing this?
So I will send them content that I made and say, share this on Instagram, share this on Facebook. They do it once a week. Um, and it's an extension of me. If I have a really good clip from the podcast, then I'll ask them to share it. If I had a really nice house that just went live, I'll ask them to share it.
So
in the same,
whoa, okay, take this one to the bank. So you're using them not for creative output. You're using them for distribution through their own
yes.
channels.
Now they have the ability to do content creation. I've got
Right,
two
right, right.
girls that I work with as well. They can, if they want to create something with me, I'm all for it. I've opened that door for them. We've got a phenomenal media department, but the main driver in this is their friends and family
It's their
on social.
distribution, because if they're playing for Spalding, or if they're playing for, Cumberland's University, and they're
Mhm.
the top-notch athlete for volleyball or baseball or football or whatever, they probably have other people in the Spalding ecosystem that follow them. So you're saying,
Correct.
for you, it's, hey, let me make this piece of content. The people that are following this athlete is local, they're my customers, but they may not
Hmm.
be following me, so it's a way to get my brand in front of them. That is very interesting. I've not heard anybody running it that way, that they're using the college athletes for distribution versus
Hmm.
just content. Do you mind sharing with us like what that cost you and like how you have that structured? If not, it's totally okay. The more value I can get
Yeah,
out of this,
so
man.
I actually don't know if I'm allowed to
Okay.
discuss that.
Okay.
If I could, if I knew I could, I would. I'm not trying
Yeah.
to gatekeep the cost. I mean, hell, I just told you what I do. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gatekeeping by any means.
No, you're fine, man.
Um,
That's
but I don't.
that's an interesting
Yeah, I don't
model.
know if I'm
Can,
allowed to disclose the dollar amount.
That's fine. Can you give us some insight into? God, I feel like a CNN reporter now. Like I don't can't answer a question. Let me ask you a different way then. Can you give us? Is it like, are you paying per piece? Is it like a monthly retain? I know you can't
I pay
talk
per
dollar.
month. Yeah, no, I can. Yeah, I can talk like that. I pay per month.
Okay.
I just shoot them over a Venmo. Just shoot them over a Venmo payment once a month,
Wow.
and it
Uh,
it's a month to month agreement. We have nothing formal.
That's cool.
That way, if the athlete feels like it's not a good fit, they can get out and they're not tied to anything.
Yeah.
And it works the same way for me. If the
Wow.
athlete's not holding up their end of the bargain, thankfully, I've never come across that. But if the athlete's not holding up their end of the bargain, we can part ways. And there's really, hey, it was fun, but just not the right fit right now. So
That's
I do
cool,
a pretty
man.
good job of vetting these athletes before
For sure. For sure.
before partnering with them. Do a social media search on them.
Yeah.
They've got to be local. Like there's a lot of athletes from out of the state that come here to play, but I don't need to sell a house in St. Louis, Missouri. I can't.
You want somebody that's
So an
born and
athlete from
raised here. Like, hey, they
exactly.
went to St. X and now they're playing over here at Spalding. Everybody that's on their
Exactly.
friends list, dude. Kudos for you on that one. That's a hell of a strategy, Jake. That one may be the best one that you shared with us today, because
Well, good.
I've yet to hear. We've been trying to figure out how we can help our agents with putting deals together. And Joey Wagner's a big name in this. He had an agency for a while here in
Hmm.
Louisville, and I had talked to him. But the problem we kept running into was the compliance issue of like, well, the content's not compliant or issues with that. But if it's just straight distribution, man, you're hacking that system and getting your content into the feeds of those people's followers. Dude, that's massive.
And one big aspect of it too is you go directly to the athlete. You're not going through the university. The
Right.
more the university is involved, that's when it can become a compliance issue. So
Yeah.
the universities, the NCAA, they want you going straight to the athlete. So I am,
Wow.
piggybacking off of other athletes that I already know, saying, "Hey, can you give me so and so's phone number? Give me like a soft opening that I may be reaching out for some NIL stuff." So we'll be
Wow.
hopefully adding a couple more this fall once the fall sports start back up. But it is a moneymaker for me,
Yeah, man.
and I wish somebody would have given me, you know, some money back in college. I almost let it slip. I wish somebody would have given me some money back in college. To just I would have sold myself out to the lowest bidder. I wouldn't have even cared.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't seen more students get on this wagon with this, and because it's like, if you look at Tiger Woods, right, like, it's no secret Tiger made way more in brand endorsement deals over his
Hmm.
career than he did playing actual golf and winning the trophy and the prize packages at the end of the golf rounds. I'm surprised more of these students aren't doing that, unless I'm also wondering how many of the agents are like, hey, dude, we're not making our money right now. Stay focused and let's get to the NBA, let's get to the NFL, and like then we'll figure it out. But for like a and again, I'm not saying this as a downplay, but like for a tertiary type player, right? So maybe somebody that plays tennis or golf or a gymnast, right? Gymnastics. To me, it makes perfect sense for them to want to do deals like this because it's helping them pay for college or put a little money in their pocket for the weekend. So.
Exactly. A little spending money. I can't tell you how many times we used to, back in college when I played, we go to the track. You can gamble at 18. It's not illegal. So you go to the track and, would love to have some money that, just because I made a couple of Instagram posts, I now got X amount of dollars that I can gamble on some horses.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, Jake, I appreciate it, dude. You've given us so much knowledge. You saved the best for the last. I can say that unequivocally. And so if anybody wants to reach out to you, connect with you on social, maybe they have want to discuss it further, or even check out your podcast, how can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm on everything except for Twitter. I don't know why, but I just don't do Twitter. But the podcast is Real Talk with My Homies. It's a play on homepage. You can find it on YouTube. My TikTok is Jake.realtor. Instagram's Jake_W_realtor. And my phone number is 502-708-7777. That is my cell. It goes straight to my hip. So
nice. What was the name of the podcast again? Real Talk with My Homies?
Real Talk with My Homies.
That's funny, dude. I like that. Well, cool, man. I appreciate you coming into the Sales Factory today. Guys, if you're listening to this, you made it all the way to the end. Appreciate you kicking it with me on another episode. Hopefully you enjoyed having Jake here in the factory. He took some good stuff away from it. He just gave you all of the ways to connect with him if you're interested. For all of you that are watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. If you're listening to this on a podcast platform, please leave us a review. It helps us get in front of more people so that we can continue to help young entrepreneurs out there grow their businesses. Until next time, here's to your success. Hustle, it's worth it. Take care, guys.